Gather around, children. It is week 7, and we are back for another episode of YFC's The Show Before the Show. As always, I am your host, John Moffat, and I am joined by the lovely Mike Mislinski and the ever beautiful looking Devin Frank. What is going on, guys?
I like the intro there, throwing a little curveball.
Working on some new stuff here. I'm excited. It's week 7. You know, Miz is dressed up for us. He's got his John Travolta look going. We're rolling.
I've got the YFC hoodie and the YFC hat.
You guys are showing me. I'm just rocking my alma mater, James.
I'm a corp guy today.
Duke Dogs.
That's right.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? We're back another week, ready to get after it. As always, got to point you over to the website, yourfieldischoice.com. Got a great special going on right now. $25 for your first 2 months. That special is ending soon, so be sure to get over there and take advantage of it. Great website that gives you all the content that you need to play DFS. You got chat channels and Discord. You got articles. You got ownership percentages with a spreadsheet that Devin runs. Access to pretty much everything, including to the guys on one-on-one channels in Discord. So head over to
NBA and NHL. NBA and NHL are back.
And this is an NFL show, but
very well in both of them. So
we are now officially in the NHL and NBA season as well. I won't be talking too much about that, but yeah, if you're into that, definitely head over there. We got a ton of content on that front as well. So for sure. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Power rankings presented by ESPN. We like to do this, start the show off, kind of set the tone, talk about what happened the week prior, at least with these top 10 teams. Some teams stayed the same. It's about half and half, but for the most part, it's all similar names that we've talked about all week here all year here as we enter into almost that midpoint of the season. So we got the Cardinals coming in at number 1, undefeated, kind of beat up on the Browns last week, surprisingly, at least to some of us on this podcast or this show. There were 2 last week. The Bills with the heartbreaking loss at number 2 to the Tennessee Titans. How about those Tennessee Titans, man? One week they're losing to the Jets and we're ragging on them. The next week they're beating the Buffalo Bills. Granted, there was some questionable calls there. I don't know what they were doing down the stretch. I just don't. I know the percentages always work out in your favor when you're that close.
Well, he slipped though, right?
He did slip.
Yeah, he did slip.
No,
obviously not how you drew it up. You got Josh Allen, who's about 210 pounds and 6'5" or whatever he is. I don't know.
I think he's actually bigger than that. I was actually surprised on the flip side too. I thought the Titans handled the end wrong, not calling some timeouts. I was really surprised by that too.
Yeah. I mean,
it worked in their favor, but I was really surprised.
That we know for sure is Derrick Henry is a freak of nature.
Unreal.
That's the thing that stays consistent through time.
I want him to break down at this point. I'm tired of it. Like, get the fuck out of here.
It's not fair.
The amount of times we say it's a Derrick Henry week on this show is quite
right. It's annoying as fuck. Just break down and get out of here.
All right, coming in at number 3, we got the Los Angeles Rams. For lack of a better term, bitch slapping the New York Giants.
Cooper Kupp
this week.
Their boy.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp blowing up this week.
That's our YFC boy.
Yeah, happy to see him back. Pretty sure he was on Be a Goldfish, if not last week, the week before. So good to see him back in the fold. Tampa Bay coming in at number 4 here. They were number 4 last week. Almost forgotten team because they played on Thursday night against the Eagles. Actually ended up being a more competitive game than it looked like it was trending towards. But yeah, no surprise there. Tampa Bay.
Jalen Hurts. Hold on. Jalen Hurts is QB4 in fantasy.
Dude, it doesn't matter how bad they are. He just gets so much.
All right, so I like that we're staying on Jalen Hurts for a second. Like, he makes you sweat it out. Like, you play him. I have him in season long. And
Me too.
I've played him on some of my GPPs. It's like, you're looking at the time, you're like, all right, it's the third quarter and he's got 8 points and the Eagles are down 21. Are they going to bench this guy soon? Like, what is going on?
That's an ideal scenario for it.
It's crazy. And then he all
I hope it keeps happening.
Rips off like 20 extra points
every single week.
Yeah,
he's like at 6 to 8 at halftime every week.
It's crazy. I played the showdown last Thursday with my buddy. We split like a bunch of lineups and he was like, you just do it. Like, I'll whatever. So I texted him about Jalen Hurts and he was just like, man, I'm kind of regretting that decision. And I was like, no. I was like, listen, it's going to be ugly, but we're going to get there with him. He's the least of my concerns at this point. It's par for the course when you play him. Coming in at number 5, another NFC East team, the Dallas Cowboys, looking pretty sharp. They actually are now winning these close games, which in the past they would have lost. That game against the New England Patriots was actually pretty awesome. They were going back and forth.
It was a good game. Yeah.
They had plenty of opportunities to kind of fold it in and just be like, it's not our week. But they hung in there. You know, they had that pick 6, and then New England comes right back and scores. Like, kind of crazy how that worked out. But yeah, Cowboys number 5, moving up a spot from last week. Number 6.
Dalton Schultz is
again,
or is tight end 3, if you can believe that.
Again, nobody cards him. He's open it every time.
And every week I keep waiting for that regression to come.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think teams have decided that we're going to let Dalton Schultz beat us.
Undrafted in season long. Undrafted. Not even a thought, right?
No.
Yeah. Tight end 3 through 6 weeks.
Crazy. Number 6, your boys, the Ravens. I will tip the cap to them. I thought they were going to actually lose to the Chargers, let alone dominate them. Like, no offense from the Chargers whatsoever, which is crazy because they're all offense on that team. Pretty shocking win if you are not a diehard Ravens fan, I guess.
So there's massive changes to the defense, and 2 of them, one of them I knew was a big part of the reason why the defensive backs were doing so poorly, is because Deshaun Elliott has been out, and he makes all the calls back there. Number 2, Josh Bynes is now the Mike linebacker. He's been on the Ravens team on and off for the last, since the Super Bowl year. He was the will linebacker then, but they took Patrick Queen off the Mike linebacker and made him the will linebacker. And
we were talking about Patrick Queen last week and how bad he looked on Monday night.
Right, because he just can't. He just doesn't know the intricacies of the defense yet. He's only 22 years old. Also,
they drafted him last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he better now this week, do you think?
Yes, he was.
So it took some of that pressure off of him.
Right. So he doesn't have to make the calls. He's not wearing the helmet. Josh Bynes is, and he knows the defense like the back of his hand. He loves here. He's always had an apartment here, even though he's been around the league. And it made a huge difference in the defense, and everybody was very much in sync. So be something on the lookout for.
Yeah,
especially if you're playing them on in your defensive spot.
Good momentum going if you're a Ravens fan. Rattling off some nice wins here. Coming in at number 7 are the Green Bay Packers. Previously number 5. You know, they beat up on the Bears this past week.
Yeah, he owns them.
He does own them, and he let them know it, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of weird to see a team win and drop 2 spots, in my opinion. If you love them, and this is obviously, like I said, according to ESPN, so it's like, if you loved them last week,
right,
won, why would they drop so far? It's not like they had like an ugly win. Like, they won the game. Like, I don't know what you expect from them. Whatever. Who knows how they
ESPN.
Who even knows how they do these power rankings? It's probably just like all their popular hosts just getting drunk and like picking names out of a hat.
Right.
So, LA
That would make for great TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, they need something like that. LA Chargers coming in here at number 8, previously number 7. See, they dropped down 1 spot and they got blown out by another good team, and the Packers won and they dropped 2 spots. This is what I'm trying to say here. I don't know, but whatever. Chargers,
right, that's silly. Yeah.
Chargers in at number 8. Number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs, previously number 10. So they move up a spot after their win on the Washington football team.
Who are absolute dog shit.
They are bad, but I watched some of that game. I don't think the Chiefs really ever had like
they're not good. I don't think they're very good this year.
Yeah,
no, it was closer than that score indicated.
I was gonna say
they'll get better. They'll get better, but they're not like collectively in sync.
I'm looking it up now. Like, for a lot of that game, I feel like it was relatively close. Closer than Kansas City would probably like to admit. Put it that way.
It was close. Mahomes has 7 interceptions this year. He had 6 the entire last season.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then finally, number 10, the Titans, previously number 11, get a big win over the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football.
With Julio being essentially nothing.
Non-existent.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And that may
That's another guy that just go away, like enough.
He's
that
done.
might continue. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, he's done.
we're gonna talk about him right here in this next section. He actually makes my news for the week, which he does honestly every week, but we'll get into that in 2 seconds. But yeah, those are our power rankings. Week 10, week 7, top 10. Obviously, there's some changes all over the league. Other teams win and lost, but we only cover the top 10 here. Like I said, moving into this next section, we got NFL news from the past week. I will start it off with Julio Jones, who Miz just wants to go away.
Go away.
Hamstring injury. Obviously, that's a thing. Didn't practice today, Wednesday. Titans coach Mike Vrabel calls Jones day to day. I feel like this is just going to be his status for the whole season, unless he's actually.
I don't know.
He's day to day on the off season.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It sucks because everybody remembers Julio when he was Julio, and he was awesome to watch. He was awesome to play. Like,
he's not that old. He should have had another handful of years left, but I don't think he's playable the entire season.
You would like to think. I remember when he went to the Titans, I remember thinking like, oh man, I wish the Niners got him. He would be awesome in the Shanahan offense, but no. I'm not upset about it.
He needs to go to Panama. And when I say Panama is because it's the stem cell capital of the world. They have a national institute there. He needs to go get a stem cell injection in his fucking back of his leg to fix this hamstring because it's insane. It's ridiculous.
Wow, we're becoming a science podcast now.
That's right.
We do it all. Is sponsored by the WHO, the World Health Organization. I don't know if that does anything for us on the show. Okay, so some other news here. Travis Kelce with a neck injury was limited in Wednesday's practice as well. However, it should be noted that Kelce suffered an apparent arm injury in week 6, and it's unknown if this limited status in practice is related to that arm issue or not.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
I was watching that game when that happened. He got sandwiched and he held it, but he came back. So you would think he's okay.
Yeah, but sometimes what happens, like your adrenaline carries you through the game, and then like your tissue swells up afterwards, and that's when it's sore and you can't move it. Like I can't even imagine some of the pain these guys go through the next day after games. Massive human beings. It's like a car crash every play, essentially, if you're getting tackled.
Mm-hmm.
Some more injury front news. Ricky Seals-Jones, our boy. Did not practice Wednesday with a quad injury. Hopefully that's nothing too alarming because he has been pretty good. He had a great day on Sunday as well. Especially if they keep pricing him at that tier that we love him at, like we're going to keep playing him. Even if Dalton Schultz is going to light the world on fire and become the next Tony Gonzalez. But yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones, we'll see what happens there. Keep an eye on it. I don't know because Logan Thomas is on IR, right?
Right, one more week.
So if Ricky Seals-Jones is out, I don't know who's next in line, but that's got to make your list for punt options possibly. No, Dev, or is that
I would be
100%.
Yeah,
I would be locking that play in regardless of who it is because
we're talking about a $2,500 punt play here.
Yeah,
it used to be Jeremy Sprinkle, but I don't think he's on there anymore.
Jeremy Sprinkle.
Great
name. It was.
Sticking on the Washington front, this one's kind of interesting. Antonio Gibson with a shin injury did not practice Wednesday.
A stretch fracture.
Yeah, honestly, I heard somebody describe Antonio Gibson's leg as a ticking time bomb when it comes to that. When it comes to that shin, he actually had been absent from practice for the past 3 weeks on Wednesday, but he hasn't missed time. However, this shin injury does appear to be worsening. He was forced from Washington's week 6 game in the fourth quarter because of the shin, and he actually had an MRI on Monday. So it's definitely a thing. If he is available, which I highly doubt he is, JD McKissick is your guy in season long. You don't think so? Who are you leaning towards?
Jared Patterson.
Okay, so he's probably available. So
he should be rostered in every league.
Every league?
If it's a 10 team
Yeah.
and up, you should have him on your bench.
He's the more complimentary back to Gibson. And they'll
Yeah.
use it the way they use him now.
Yeah. It might be initially, it might be a little bit more of McKissick, but if this is a long-term injury, it's definitely going to be Patterson over the long.
Well, if it's a shin injury and it does give way, he's out for the
right.
months.
It's got to be
You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah, like you can't break your shin and then come back. I mean, you can, obviously, but like not anytime soon. So it'll be worth it, fantasy speaking. So we'll see what happens.
At least for this week, it would be McKissick. Yeah.
And then some more news finally. Also, this is just like rumor mill. A lot of talks apparently between the Texans and the Dolphins have intensified into that Deshaun Watson deal.
Shit's hilarious.
No news on what. Yeah. People thought it was going to get done like this week. Like they're saying a deal's imminent, but like who the hell knows at this point?
Could you imagine trading for a guy who you don't even know if he's ever going to play?
No, they must know something though.
And the price tag is insane too.
Dude, I read some of the reports on the cases against him. It's dude's a creep. I'm just gonna say that.
Flying in masseuses at 2 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, Instagram and
on either side, honestly, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're not going to become a law podcast now either. We already touched on science.
No.
So that takes care of the NFL news from this past week. Just keep an eye on some of those injuries. Could impact the slate. Like I said, Antonio Gibson seems to be the most popular one that we would want to keep an eye on. Let's move into one of our next sections here or one of our favorite sections here.
You know what the happiest animal on earth is? It's a goldfish. You know why?
No.
It's got a 10-second memory. Be a goldfish, Sam. Yeah?
It's called Be a Goldfish. We do this every week. We review people or players that kind of had down weeks last week and really, it's not their norm. So we be a goldfish. You forget it. Set it and forget it. Like Ted Lasso says, 10-second memory sucks for that week, but you move on. Don't be afraid to play them. So actually, I was looking through the stats this week, and this section seems to be very consolidated around one game. And that is the Chargers-Ravens game. And I'm not really surprised at that because one team got crushed. The other team, whose quarterback is Lamar Jackson, didn't really have anything that jumped off the page. So I'll start with him. Lamar Jackson was $7,400, dropped 13.78 points, and was 9.5% owned. In a game where they kind of blew the other team out, surprising that his numbers weren't better than what they were. But again, Lamar Jackson, be a goldfish.
Lamar's an interesting case this year comparatively to the last few years. Last few years, he was Jalen Hurts, right? That we're getting this year. Maybe not as, worrisome at halftime, but he's passing a lot more, right? He's completing those passes. But they will defer to running with the running backs if they can. A couple of weeks ago, Lamar had a slight back issue. And I think that might have turned the light on for the coaching staff a little bit. And now we have 3 running backs that we use, not just 2 anymore.
Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass now.
So they're trying to get the ball.
Although Latavius Murray was held out of practice today, by the way. I didn't put it on the news list, but I did read that.
Right. So regardless of that, they'll just use Tyson Williams too. So it's still going to be 3 people, no matter what. But so don't go picking up any of those guys up in season long.
You got Le'Veon touchdowns and shit.
Yeah.
Just throwing a wrench in the mix.
This was definitely a weird outcome to this game. Like, I certainly didn't see it being this much of a blowout. It definitely should have been better. Like, we got the Herbert. They'll make adjustments. And it's not going to happen every single time. But use Lamar in more competitive games. Now, this is definitely one of those, right?
I was gonna say, yeah, this was 2 top 5 teams going at it pretty much.
Right. So, and maybe, if there's some cupcake matchups that he has coming up, maybe you go a little bit different direction, especially since he's going to be so highly priced in DFS. But, just be wary of that. The whole dynamic might be shifting just a little bit than what it's previously been the last couple of years.
Kind of like what we talked about with Kyler Murray last week, where he's not
Which
seeing.
he shat on our face for that.
Yes, he did. But again, that was the concept's still the same. The rushing is not quite what it was. Now, let me ask you really quick on the subject of Lamar. Because you typically don't look at the slate until later in the week. I look early in the week. If I were to tell you that Lamar is looking fairly chalky at the moment, what would you say? Are you willing to go right back to him, or are you a little bit nervous?
What's he priced at? Do we know?
No,
I'm not going to tell him that. He doesn't want to know.
Yeah, don't tell me that. Bengals. Yeah, you can play him for sure.
Bengals are better than people realize. A lot better than people realize. That's a good team. It really is.
Also divisional game, so usually a little bit closer, and they've beaten us when they shouldn't have beaten us a couple of times over the last few years. One of those years was to knock us out of the playoffs.
I remember that.
So yes,
My wallet remembers that.
All right, just wanted to throw that question in there.
All right, let's go across on the other side here. A lot of these names all kind of
You
correlate.
compare the 3 of them together.
Yeah, I really could. So, first we got Mike Williams, one of the highest priced wide receivers, which is crazy too, that even Mike Williams is up there now as that guy.
He's leading the league in touchdowns.
Yeah, 8,100
or for receivers.
$8,100, 4.7 points.
That hurts at that price.
That's a tough pill to swallow. 3.9% owned. So the ownership wasn't as high, but I mean, you're paying $8,000 for him and he's dropping 4 points. You're pretty much losing for the week. So tough one there. But Mike Williams, like you said, leading the lead in touchdowns on a high powered offense. I don't expect the Chargers to really fall off much after this loss. Sometimes it's good for a young team with a young quarterback to kind of get their asses handed to them. So early in the season anyways, if they can learn from it. So Mike Williams, be a goldfish. Sticking in that offense, we got Austin Eckler, who we all love on this show. We've said it multiple times. He was 7,900, 9.5 points, not great either. 13.2% owned. For all the reasons we love Mike Williams, the same reasons why we love Austin Eckler. And then finally, Justin Herbert, $7,300, had been lighting the league on fire a little bit for the previous couple of weeks, but 12 points. And 8.8% owned in all major GPPs. So bundling this Chargers offense together here. Again, I don't think it's really cause for concern. That's why they're even on this list. I think those guys are fine. I think they'll right the ship. I think they're okay. I think they actually have a bye this week, so you don't even have to worry about them when it comes to this week. So I don't even know if the recency bias is even going to be in play here, because usually when these guys have bad weeks, that's when everybody starts to jump off of them. I think if a 2-week gap goes by, people might have a short-term memory, especially with other bye weeks happening. So, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, be a goldfish.
That may be the lowest game. That might be all of their lowest totals of the year.
I mean, I just named all of them. If you were to stack them, first of all, if you were to stack them, I don't even want to see what the rest of your team was, but that's still 8,000 for a receiver, 7,300 for your quarterback, 7,900 for your running back. You only netted 25 points.
And wasn't that the stack the week prior? That wasn't.
Yeah, that was the
Millie
winning.
Maker.
That was the winning stack the week before.
That was the Fanduel Millie Maker win. So this is the perfect example of be a goldfish, because literally the same stack won a Millie Maker the week prior.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just keep an eye on Mike Williams' injury status. He's a little banged up.
Take all the
Bye
Keenan
weeks,
Allen I can get though. Actually Keenan Allen qualified for this list as well. I just left them off because I was like, how many Chargers am I going to talk about? Like, yeah, we get it. The Chargers had a bad game.
Yes, they did.
And then just to throw another, some diversity in the mix and get out of that game, I have Justin Jefferson on here, also another guy that we like on the show. $8,000, 15 points, which is not terrible. It's a respectable number, but not going to get you there if you're paying $8,000 for anybody at 7.9% owned. So Justin Jefferson certainly be a goldfish. We like him moving forward plenty, right?
I played him and I stacked him with Cousins, who's one of my, I had a situation where I had to drive him from Florida, so my article was a little shorter, but
you drove from Florida?
Yeah, dude. 18 hours. Horrible.
Oh man. Talk about that on the podcast.
Right. Well, I mean, I do got stories with that if you want to get into it. But anyway, this dude misses huge plays by centimeters multiple times every game.
Yeah.
A huge fucking game is coming. And I mean huge, like a 45-point game is coming out of this dude. And it's going to happen sooner than later.
I think they have a bye week this week too. So he's unfortunately not on the slate either.
Good, because I'll be playing him again.
And
Kirk
is playing great. I actually have a good stat on Kirk that I'm going to say in a little bit here. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm waiting for that Justin Jefferson week where he pops off. Also, if anybody watches the show, they know you're a fan of Viking stacks because I mean it pays off. I mean they have nice.
I think I've said it almost every week.
Yeah. You're a big Viking stack guy. Speaking of stacks and winning, we're going to move away from these guys and take a look at some of the winning lineups from this past week. I'll share my screen here, guys. So as always, first we're going to take a look at the cash lineups. Dev, why don't you take us through this DraftKings one here?
All right, so we'll do this pretty quickly. The typical, though, I just want to throw this out there. These are the cash labeled plays from our cheat sheet. So again, our cheat sheet is an amazing tool because it takes this big, huge player pool and it really limits it down to just a handful of guys at every position. And what we've seen every single week is monster scores using cash plays. So this is just to show that you don't necessarily have to get crazy with your plays to have a big score, and that the info is right there. It's just about piecing the puzzle together.
Before you dive into it, what am I going to call out here on this DraftKings lineup?
We got a tight end and a flex.
Double tight end.
Now
I got to start keeping tallies of this. What is
every week but 1 week? So what? This was week 7, week 6.
Yes.
So 5 of the 6 weeks have now on DraftKings, because it's important to differentiate, because Fanduel has been more running back. On DraftKings, we've only seen a running back in the flex 1 week. It's been a tight end or a receiver. I believe it's been 3 and 3 with a tight end, and well, it's maybe been 2 times with the tight end. All the other times, wide receiver, 1 time running back. So it's a hard thing to get over, but it's not like it used to be where you have to play running back in the flex, especially on DraftKings. So taking a look at this really quick, Stafford lit the world. He was awesome against the Giants. Henderson was also awesome. I'm a little surprised he wasn't on this. You had the 2 value plays. Williams and Herbert came through in big ways. Sterling Shepard kind of benefited from an injury to Tony, who had 3 catches for 36 yards in the first drive, which, by the way, that kid's awesome. That kid's a superstar in the making.
Giant fans gotta be excited about him.
Absolute superstar. So next season, seasonal, put him on your radar because he is awesome. Anyways, Shepard got a little bit of benefit from him being out, but the play made sense because they were banged up. So both him and Tony made sense. Cooper Kupp, he's our dude. Every week we've been on him. I think he's had 1 down week. Other than that, he's been incredible all season. Tyreek Hill against Washington made all the sense in the world. I believe you had him as a must last week, Miz. I'm not sure we talked about him on the stream, but he was definitely on your list. Jonathan Taylor was on your list. He's in the Fanduel cash lineup. Noah Fant, again, cheap tight end. Talk about that.
Ricky Seals-Jones was on your must. He
Yeah,
made the show.
and he was fine. I mean, he makes the other lineup. So actually, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong lineup for a second. He makes the DraftKings lineup. Sorry, Jonathan Taylor did make the DraftKings lineup. I looked at the wrong lineup for a second. Jonathan Taylor was a must on the show from Miz last week. Ricky Seals-Jones was a must from me. Tyreek Hill was on our must list as well. So again, there's some benefit to this too. And then the Ravens defense. So what we see here is paying down a tight end, not being afraid to flex with something other than a running back, and not feeling like you have to force in an expensive defense. So this is a really good example of all of those things.
Yeah.
And then over on Fanduel quickly, a lot of the same plays. You got Herbert, Williams, both very cheap, affordable, same group of receivers, Jonathan Taylor in the flex. So again, it is really interesting to note that while on DraftKings, it's been wide receiver and tight end in the flex every week, but one. I believe on Fanduel, it's been the opposite. I believe it's been running back every single week, but maybe one. So that's just kind of an interesting thing. And a lot of that is to do with pricing.
And touchdowns are weighted heavily on FanDuel
touchdowns
compared to DraftKings.
Yep. And
no bonuses on FanDuel.
Their receiving pricing is pretty good most weeks. Running backs where you find a lot of the value plays. So it's not a surprise to see, double value running backs on FanDuel pretty frequently, and then one of the expensive ones. So, and then you got the Colts defense coming in. That was a little bit pricier of a defense.
4,700.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of the same scenario we've seen all year long now at this point for both sides here.
Yep. And then on the flip side, let's bounce over to these Millie Maker lineups here. Miz, this is more your forte, but certainly, Dev, feel free to jump in. We got Baker Mayfield and Donovan Peoples-Jones on the DK side. Definitely a rare stack.
You win the Millie Maker with 15 points from your quarterback. That's incredible.
When I pulled this lineup, I was like, am I looking at an old one? Like, am I looking at an old lineup? And then I saw it, like, no, that's it, crazy, but look at the number they dropped there. 231 this person dropped.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, you gotta think about it, right? So look at the prices on Baker, right? Or price it on Baker, right? Super cheap.
Yep.
Allows you to get,
not to mention the ownership. What does that say? 1.7%.
Yeah.
Right. And then look at the high caliber players around them: Mixon, Taylor, Thielen, Lamb, Kelsey, Fant.
Yep.
I mean, really, outside of Donovan Peoples-Jones, I mean, it makes sense for a small stack here. They didn't have to bring it back with anybody, just because of the absurd outputs that they got out of these other players, right? So it's a little atypical. All of these plays make sense, obviously, outside of Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, that's a total luck box.
He is a deep threat. So this guy was probably a Browns fan.
Right.
Peoples-Jones was due for this, but yes.
Also, these guys who win this tournament, or girls, they're they're playing multiple lineups.
Yeah.
If I'm putting $20 in and it's my last $20, like, I don't think Donovan Peoples-Jones.
No, definitely not.
That lineup. But if I'm putting 50 or 100 or even like 10, yeah, why not? I think that game's gonna pop off. I'll throw some.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Mixon and Taylor are examples of why stats do matter, because Mixon was in an absolute smash spot statistically. All the numbers pointed to it. And I was watching it. I told my wife, and I'm like, why didn't I just play this guy? Like, every number in the world pointed to him, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
I played him and Swift together, but the rest of my lineup didn't turn out too good. So, but that was a good game to target. It was. But I mean, all this makes sense. These are all really just high caliber players in good spots. And the fact that he was able to get, what's the 8K for that's 5,900. Yeah. So for basically the same price. Same price as like Travis Kelce and a mid-tier play. He got 2 players that were super cheap that allowed him to get
Yeah, I mean, look,
a
it's
stacked
that,
roster.
that Hail Mary also helps too. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did.
that's the whole reason why this guy won, but such is life. I mean, that's how you're gonna win these things. This is Millie Maker. This is not small pool GPP for big buy-ins. This is,
Right.
you know, hundreds of thousands of people playing. You need luck too. Like, we can talk here till we're blue in the face about statistics and trends and regression and all these other things that we focus on, but you do need a little luck too. So a Hail
A
Mary,
lot of luck.
a Hail Mary at halftime, that'll do it. So look real quick, looking at the FanDuel, we got some familiar faces too. This guy or girl looks like they stacked up a couple of Dallas Cowboys there. Didn't run it back with any Patriots, no surprise there. But you also got Cooper Kupp, Darrell Henderson, guys that just had great weeks. I don't really see anybody though. I honestly played all these players, not in this combination, but this
Right.
looks like a more chalky lineup, to be honest with you.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that he didn't bring it back with anybody from New England is actually smart because New England just spreads it out so much
Yeah, who'd you
that
pick?
nobody
Jacoby
really
Myers,
is
maybe?
famous. Right. He's like the only one, and he hasn't scored a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Freaking
and plus-
had one this week and it got overturned. I was so
Right,
pissed.
right. I know. Which
Oh,
sucks, of course. But it's just in theory, right? Like,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
are you going to pick from the Patriots, right? I mean, you could have maybe used Damian Harris, but still, historically, they are still using multiple backs. So it's like
Yeah.
you're still hard. It's going to be really hard to get a 20-plus point game out of the guy. So, I mean, it does make sense in that regard. And, you know, he filled in the rest with all the guys that he likes. That are, you know, high caliber plays for that particular week.
Yeah, no, true story there. All right, well, those are some of the wing laps. We'll do this every week. Just, you know, good way to play Wednesday night quarterback for us and just kind of see where people went right and wrong and how on par we were with some of our picks. All right, let's move down into this next one here. Read off some stats. It's called Oh You Didn't Know. We're going to go over some next gen stats and just some stats from the week that are kind of jumping off the page. Number one here, the Ravens gained 140 yards and scored a touchdown on 26 rushes outside the tackles, averaging 5.4 per carry in Sunday's win. Ravens rush game. This is exactly what we were talking about before. And how many of those people scored that were running backs? Did you say 3 different running backs scored this week?
Yeah,
Exactly. So
it's ridiculous.
it's clear that the Ravens are going to run the ball, but it is not clear who. So and like I mentioned, Le'Veon Bell found the end zone, which just throws a whole nother monkey wrench in the equation. So I guess, you know, feel free to play Lamar, obviously be a goldfish there, but not really putting too much faith in these other running backs unless some major injury occurs. But for now, yeah, just stay away.
100%. I couldn't agree more on that.
Moving over here to our boy Kirk. Kirk Cousins has thrown for 3 or more touchdowns and 0 interceptions in 5 of his last 8 games. So he's having a good year. That dates back to last year. He's done so 11 times since 2020, ranking him second behind Aaron Rodgers. So not usually a name that he gets paired with. You know, you don't really ever think of Kirk Cousins when you're thinking of stuff that Aaron Rodgers is doing. But yeah, three TDs or more and 0 interceptions in 5 of his last 8 games, which would explain why Miz keeps picking him for his GPP stacks.
And you know where the targets are going normally for the most part.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's going to one of those 2 big dogs. So definitely good little stat there. Joe Burrow, on the other hand, has thrown for 270 plus yards, 2+ TDs, and a completion percentage of 65 plus in his last 3 games. That's the longest active streak in the NFL. Tom Brady has 2. So let me read that one more time. Joe Burrow has thrown for 270 plus yards, 2 touchdowns or more, and a completion percentage of 65% or higher in his last 3 games. So Joe Burrow really coming into his own as a young quarterback in this league, kind of as advertised, living up to some of his hype, and he's a big reason why the Bengals look pretty good this year.
And that receiving core is silly. I mean, Tyler Boyd's your number 3 at this point. That's
He
insane.
certainly has the weapons around him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Imagine if they got a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, Uzuma was doing okay.
He's not bad,
Yeah,
but
he's
imagine
not
if they got like a top tier tight end. I mean, forget about it.
Yeah, no, that would be crazy. And then finally here, Sunday was Mahomes' 3rd career game with 2 interceptions on passes of fewer than 10 air yards. So that's key there. He didn't throw it further than 10 yards and he got picked off twice. Does this play into, how teams are not blitzing him as much so they could sit back in coverage? It's like, you know what, let this guy try and throw the ball. We'll just make sure he doesn't run and we'll force him to make mistakes. That's kind of like what I'm seeing from teams here. I don't know how many times the Washington football team blitzed him, but the week before the Bills didn't blitz him once.
Right.
So
It's interesting. They had that one big play to Tyreek, but outside of that, I mean, they're not, well, I'll say it this way. We said a couple weeks ago, if they're down at half, you can bet them. Probably wait and see on that one.
Yeah, it's not a slam dunk anymore.
yeah, for now anyways, it's still the Chiefs. They're still who they are. And we're still not even halfway through the year yet, but
A lot of season left.
They'll get better. They'll get better.
They'll get better for sure. I'm not saying that they're not a playoff team. I'm not saying that they're even bad. I'm just saying
Right.
they're not the same as it has been in the past,
Yeah.
At
They're
least-
not cooking with gas yet.
Exactly. So yeah, that wraps it up for our next gen stats there. Some interesting ones, some that may change our mind as we come up with some lineups throughout the course of the week. Here's another fan favorite section of ours, must or dust. Guys, this is our version of love or hate. I'm going to shout out some names at you. You tell me whether you're musting them or dusting them this week. I'm going to start with Philadelphia Eagles running back Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders has been an absolute nightmare for fantasy owners thus far this year. If you own him seasonal, you can imagine that, or I can imagine that you've looked at your lineup and you've debated probably some crazy thoughts. Maybe, Miles Sanders or Myles Gaskin, right? Where that even really shouldn't even be a question. However, I believe from what I've read from beat reporters and so forth that Sirianni knows that he needs to run the ball more moving forward.
Did you hear the fans every time they handed the ball off to
Yep.
Miles Sanders on
Right.
that Thursday night game going
Yep.
crazy for 4-yard gains because they're like, give this guy the ball. What are you doing?
Right. And it couldn't be a better matchup to make right on all of that here against the Raiders. The Raiders' run defense is not good. They've been gashed all season long.
Is Miz talking shit about the Raiders?
Never.
Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Are we
Yeah.
gonna put do we have to put the Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders on your list? Did they make the list?
They're close, man. They're close, man. I mean, they got rid of Gruden. I mean, so I'll give them a pass this week. We got to be easy on them, man. We
Got
can't
the
get
pen
anything.
out, got the pen out, ready to throw them on the list, man. You just give me
Right,
the
right.
word, and they'll be up there.
God damn it, if Miles Sanders doesn't go off this week, they're definitely going to list because they're just driving me nuts. But Miles Sanders this week against the Raiders, man, definite must.
All right, cool. I love it. Let's move on to another running back here, Darrell Henderson.
That's right. I'm just going to keep going back to this guy. He's just going to continue to be a must for me.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him last week, and he was incredible. Let me see the stats here now. He just the big thing for me as a cat, because remember, I'm a cash game player. So when Miz and I do this list, we're even coming at it from a slightly different mindset. Miz plays cash as well, but Miz is a GPP specialist. He has multiple takedowns. I'm just more of a safer player in terms of the way I build, just the way my mind is works. So when I'm looking for guys, I'm looking for consistent play. And Henderson's been incredible. He has yet to score under 15.7, and that was week 1. So that was his worst game of the season, which is a really good game. 15.7, 17, 16, 16, and a season high 24 last week. And the big thing is he saw a season high 21 carries last week, and he saw 3 targets. So he's involved. If he's going to see 20 touches a game, Detroit's terrible against the run. Sign me up.
Yeah. For all the reasons you said you're musting him, I can't really disagree. So I'm okay with that pick for sure. What about the running back that he was against this week that had a little bit of hype? I'm not really sure if hype is the great word, but he did have a little bit of a buzz, put it that way. Devonte Booker.
I'm going to have to go the other way this week and dust him. He actually was, I believe Miz had him as a dust last week, and he did okay. For his price, he did okay. The other values on the board were better. He got 10.9, so that's not terrible for his price in a tough matchup, but he follows that up with yet another tough matchup this week against Carolina, who does not give up very many rushing yards per game. The issue is the Giants are banged up, but it's not like they fed him the ball 20 times. He had 12 carries. He had 4 targets. So decent usage, but in a tough matchup, I'm not sure that you need that value this week. So I'm going to dust Devonte Booker.
Yeah. I don't think I ever was musting him, but this is just for anybody who thinks they were. So dust for Devonte Booker. And then finally, this guy actually I considered throwing on the Be a Goldfish list. He has been on Be a Goldfish actually 2 times out of this 7 or 6 weeks here this season. But the times he wasn't, boy, did he pop off. And that is Davonte Adams. What are we doing with him here? Tough week last week, but you staying off him, you musting, dusting. What's the deal?
Yes. So I've been very vocal in our premium room against Devonte Adams. 2 weeks ago, I talked about fading him. I ended up playing him, and I was vocal about that after the show. We got some news, opened up some value. I said, okay, you have to play Devonte Adams now. Thank goodness he scored 40. My whole thing with Adams, because Miz says he's the best receiver in the NFL. I don't disagree with that. He's unguardable at times. The issue is with Rodgers, he just doesn't force feed him the ball like we see with some other guys. So the way I've been handling Adams, and I will be handling Adams moving forward, is very matchup dependent. This week, you get Washington. Washington defense is dreadful. We saw what Tyreek did against them. So for me, you take into account that matchup and Devonte Adams upside. And yes, he was a little bit of a dud last week, but I'm going to must Devonte Adams this week.
Yeah, I mean,
the biggest factor is his price. His price is like he's a 9K receiver on DraftKings. You need him to go off.
He has to score 20 plus, or you're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, and he's one of those guys that can easily do it every week. It's not out of the question, but it's not going to happen every week. That's just how it goes, unless he's going to have like that Randy Moss type season, where
yeah, or Cooper Kupp season apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or let's just compare him to somebody today, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, so I'll be handling him very, very matchup dependent for me. Last week was an okay matchup, and he was okay. In hindsight, he wasn't the play. Looking back, we should have been weighting him a little bit heavier matchup wise. And again, this week though, the matchup's there. Washington's been just dreadful, surprisingly, on defense. So yes, he's pricey, but this is the week where if I'm going to pay up for Devonte Adams, it's this week.
Yeah. All makes sense. Totally get where you're going there. And I definitely don't disagree with you on Devonte Adams. That's my boy too. I like Devonte Adams. I'm on the Miz train. I think he's one of the best in the league. So for sure. I'm cool with musting them, especially against that shitty Washington.
Oh, they're terrible. It's shocking.
Yeah. All right, well, that wraps up our section mustard dust. Let's get into some of our Vegas lines here. We call this section Gimme the Loot. This is where, we go over our picks, some of the lines that we like from the week. We review the ones that we picked last week. But before we do that, we'd like a special shout out. This week's Gimme the Loot segment is presented by Odds Jam. Guys, Odds Jam is an innovative solution designed to identify odds that make you the winner every single time. So what it's going to do is they have real-time data to spot discrepancies between different sports books, and they help users place risk-free bets, right? So they claim profits average 3% every day, which adds up to big earnings. So the same way that we look at price discrepancies on Fanduel versus DK or DraftKings, this is what this site does. They basically take all of the different sports books, aggregate it in to see where the biggest variance is, and then gives you, something to target if you're placing a bet. So head over to Odds Jam, check it out. Great website. Definitely happy to have them be a partner of the show. Guys, I think we need to sign up for some Odds Jams accounts.
Clearly,
we're struggling a little bit here. Could be better, I think. Miz, you get the equivalent of the golden sombrero. You went 0 for last week. You had the Buffalo Bills -5.5 against Tennessee. You had the Cleveland Browns -3 against Arizona. And you had Houston Texans, who, if anybody follows us on social media, if anybody follows me on social media or you, whatever, you're flip-flopping on them. And just when you think you have them figured out, they come right back and lose by 30 right in your mouth. So you had Houston +10. That didn't even come close to covering against Indy. That is an 0 for 3. You are now 8-9-1. Dev, you had the Cleveland Browns against Arizona as well. No surprise there, but they did not cover. You had Cincinnati -3.5 against Detroit. That did cover. And then you also had Las Vegas +3.5. That was a great call. You said it, when coach leaves, everybody thinks, the world is ending, but ends up not being the case. You go 2-1. That brings your record to 9-8-1 on the year, which puts you over 500. So congratulations.
Go fuck yourself.
My picks, not so great, but I did have a winner in the Los Angeles Rams -9.5 against the New York Giants. That was a layup. I did have the Los Angeles Chargers +3 against Baltimore. That was a disaster. Definitely didn't even come close to that one. And then Pittsburgh against Geno Smith in Seattle at home, Sunday Night Football. What are they doing in Pittsburgh? They're just like, it's a tough game to watch. Like, when
they suck balls.
Ben just looks so slow and old, man. It's crazy.
Devonte Johnson's the shit, though.
That's a Toledo. That's a Toledo boy.
And so is Najee Harris. It's not like it's
Najee's special.
Right. It's not like it's a weapons problem. It's like a Ben problem, or I don't know. But anyways, they couldn't cover the 4.5, which I thought they'd be able to cover easily against shitty Geno Smith. They only win by 3. That brings my record to 7-9-1. So with having said that, I guess Dev, you got the honors this week. Best record. So you can go first. Clean slate. You get to pick whoever you want.
Good, because Miz stole half my picks last week, but apparently that was a good thing that he stole them. I cannot take my Browns this week because they play on Thursday. We have not been doing Thursday games. They are surprisingly 1.5-point favorites, even with Case Keenum. That team is banged up. I cannot believe the amount of injuries on the Browns. But anyways, moving off of them, I like let's go with, hold on here. There's some big lines this week.
Yeah, not that easy, honestly.
No, there's some really,
I've got it down pat.
Really big spreads here.
We get it, man. Houston for 3. You're gonna take
I am taking them.
I believe that. That's a big spread. So I'm gonna go with give me the Patriots -7. It's a
the
bigger
Jets?
number than against the Jets. That's a bigger number than I really like, but we all know the story with Bill against rookie quarterbacks.
Did you see the last time they played? It was, you could have taken double that number and it would have been fine.
Yes, exactly. So I believe that was the day that Zach Wilson threw 3-4 interceptions within just a handful of throws. And the Patriots are better than their record shows. There's some talent on that team. They're starting to use Hunter Henry a little bit. They've had a tough schedule. So give me the Patriots -7 here. Give me the Falcons -2.5. I'm calling it right now. Cordero Patterson's going to have a big game. He's listed, I believe, at receiver on Fanduel, and he's one of the priciest players on the entire slate. And I probably wouldn't touch him in cash, but I'm telling you right now, he's going to have a big day against the Dolphins, who are just terrible against running backs. So give me the Atlanta Falcons -2.5 on the road, and give me the Panthers -3 against the Giants.
I like those picks. I was eyeing some of them as well. Wasn't in love with anything this week, so no.
There's some tough lines this week.
Yeah, there is. So just so make sure I heard you right. You have New England -7 against the Jets, Atlanta -2.5 against Miami, and Carolina -3 against the Giants.
Yep, I got 2 road teams, which is a little scary, but that's okay.
All right, no problem. I'm gonna jump in here because as you go last, that's what happens when we go 0 for 3. Okay. These lines are so big, and like in the NFL where there's so much parity, it's hard to kind of love any team that is favored by more than 2 touchdowns, right? So there's quite a few that I'm seeing that are jumping off the page. So I'm going to try and probably stay away from most of them, except I think I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -12.5 against the Bears. I don't know why. I think they cover that number. If it was in Chicago, I probably wouldn't take it. If it was in Chicago, it probably wouldn't be 12.5 anyways. But I just don't think the Chicago offense can keep up with the Tampa Bay offense. So I think even if it's close in the beginning, Tampa Bay pulls away, and then Chicago starts forcing things, and they just can't keep up.
Chicago needs to run the ball, and that's what Tampa Bay's good against. So
right,
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing the offense from Chicago. I mean, I'm an Allen Robinson owner in season long, and he's killing me this year. And I don't think it's an Allen Robinson problem. I think it's just a Bears offense problem for now. So I know they have offensive line issues. Obviously, they're starting Fields. Nagy is also their coach. Not Maggie. Nagy is also their coach. So, yeah, I'm going Tampa Bay -12.5 against Chicago. I am going the San Francisco 49ers -4 against the Colts. I'm not even doing this in the way that you are. Yeah, I am just maybe I am, but
dare you?
But maybe it's like you're conscious of it. Maybe it's just in my subconscious. Like they gotta win a game here. Like they started off so strong, and now it's like they're tailing off. They had a couple bad division losses. They're coming off a bye week. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is like, hey guys, like I exist still. So it's on Sunday Night Football. I don't think Indy is that good of a team. It's also in San Francisco. I think -4 is a number that they can.
Is Jimmy starting?
Yeah. Trey's out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Trey's
not ready. Trey's not ready yet.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, if we're going back to that game, they ran him 16 times, which I don't love that as a fan. I don't want Trey Lance to be defined by his legs. I just don't like it when it's a running first.
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, there you go, Miz. Yeah, how many Super Bowls you got with LJ over there?
Right.
Exactly. Anyways, let me go back and look at the board here. Yeah, I know, and I'm sure you'll let us know about it.
You're damn right, and I'll be there too.
Speaking of the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going back to the well on this one. I'm going Cincinnati Bengals +6.5 against the Ravens. I think the Bengals may even pull this one out, and could be their coming out party. Like, hey, this is our division this year. So Let's see. Maybe that's a little bit out of hand. Maybe that won't happen, but I don't think that. I think even when the Bengals are bad, these games are typically close.
Yeah,
Like,
they're typically good games.
When the
Or we beat the
Bengals,
shit out of them. It's one
Yeah.
of the two.
well, yeah, but I think for this season, it's going to go the close game route.
Yeah.
So
I
again,
can
I'll
agree
take
with that.
Tampa Bay minus 12.5 against Chicago, San Francisco minus 4 against Indy, and Cincinnati plus 6.5 against Baltimore.
All right, now what everybody's been waiting for after you idiots were talking the whole time is my picks. And we're going to start off with the Falcons minus 2.5. This defense is starting to come around a little bit. And they've had the bye week to get right. And Tua's going to be surrounded by the Deshaun Watson trade rumors. Nothing but bad vibes coming from the Miami Dolphins organization. Give me the Atlanta Falcons minus 2.5.
Wow, going to the Matt Ryan well. That's never burned anybody before.
No,
Hey,
never. Not
hey,
one
hey,
time.
I got them too.
And in a shocker of all shockers, I'm going back to the Houston Texans.
Nothing like a 31-point blowout to instill confidence.
Against the
Cardinals
undefeated team.
fans,
Yeah, against the best team in the league. I love it. I can't wait. They've lost now by, first of all, they lost by 34 or 31 last week, and then the week before that by like 40 to the Bills. So we're rolling. Oh no, not to the Bills. That was 2 weeks before that. But still, that's 2 significant losses. But I won't shine on you here. Why
17.5 is a shitload. It's a shitload.
It's a big number.
I think there's some historical data like that hardly ever covers. So I'm going 17.5. Houston Texans, book it. You might want to just play them outright if you want to get crazy. No, don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
All right, and then
Trying to get followers here.
yeah,
Or
right.
Odds Jam is going to pull their ad if they hear this shit.
Right. And then I'm going to go with the Eagles +3. This is going to be a closer game than people think.
You and those Raiders.
He's got a vendetta against them, man. It's weird.
Dude,
It is a
the
little
Eagles are
weird.
terrible though.
It is a little weird because I'm not even really trying to do that. But I do think the Eagles are going to get a little bit more balanced on offense this week, and not have their defense be put in such bad situations. This game is going to be a lot closer throughout the entire game. It's not going to be the Eagles playing catch up the entire time. So it'll probably come down to a possession or two there at the end. So I like the Eagles +3.
I think the Eagles are getting an offensive lineman back too, which will really help because that O-line is terrible.
To be honest, I was looking at the Eagles game too. I like that game as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wrapping up Mrs. Picks here. We got Atlanta -2.5 against Miami, Houston +17.5 against Arizona, and then Philly.
I can't wait for that fucking thing to cover. I might go fucking live on
I
fucking
can't wait for
Instagram
it
that
to
shit.
not cover, and then me and Dev just have a field day with you next week.
Uh.
And Philly +3 against Vegas. But that wraps up our section. That wraps up our show, guys. Any parting words before we leave here?
Be a Goldfish in general. Last week was we've crushed this season. Last week was one of the few instances where we didn't hit, which actually some of our customers did, thanks to Ms. who texted me
I was
to
just
say,
about
hey,
to say,
make a swap. So then I let our premium members know to make a swap. Many of them switched to CeeDee Lamb and cashed. So yet another reason to be in premium as well.
yep, that's the stuff you don't get on the stream, guys. You only get these pretty faces on the stream.
That's right.
Yeah, these tired ass faces.
Dust,
Just
dust
you
us
know,
all.
just try to be just a piece of advice for everyone out there this week, especially if you're trying to hunt down GPP and so forth. Just try to think more critically about your lineups as opposed to just scrolling and on your phone and trying to fill out your roster, on Sunday. Just try to think critically about your rosters, how they come together, and why your lineup makes sense, and the players that you're putting into them, not just throwing them in there. Like, why are you putting that player A into that lineup, and why is player B
in that lineup, and do they have any correlation at all?
Correlate. All right. That's and Ms. be a goldfish and bet the
Go
Texans.
back to the Houston Texans. Be a goldfish, go right back to Houston.
All right, guys, that wraps up the show for this week. Pleasure as always. I am the host. These guys are the experts, and we will see you Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern on the Your Fielder's Choice YouTube network. All right, take care, guys, and have a good week. Good luck, everyone. Bye.